we were going to do. We said we were going to cut the car tax. We cut the car tax and kept our word.
That's right.
We said we were going to grab on to education and that we were going to put 4,000 new teachers in the classroom, and we put 4,000 new teachers in the classroom. We said that the lottery profits should be dedicated back to education where they belong. We put the education lottery profits back into education where they belong. We said that we were going to add jobs to this state. We put 250,000 jobs into this state. We kept our word. Now, I want to speak to you about Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads. This has been an area that had a lot of attention for me when I was the governor of Virginia. We favored several schools, particularly, and one of those was Norfolk State University. And maybe most importantly, I stood up for the Lake Gaston pipeline and got Virginia Beach secured. Now, this is very significant. We didn't do a thing to hurt the people in Southside along Lake Gaston, but we secured the future of Virginia Beach. And I took the hits that were necessary to make sure that that stayed on track, and I want the people of Hampton Roads to remember that. Now, this is very significant. Now, let's talk for just a second about what we want to do. Listen, folks, I'm going to tell you right now that people are very concerned about the problems that they've got around the kitchen table. We Republicans have to be responsive to that. People are very worried about high gas prices in this state. They're very high worried about it. And there's only one way to address it, and that is increased domestic production, and that's why we have to drill an animal. Jim Gilmore says we drill an animal, and Mark Warner says no. In addition to that, we have to be prepared to go offshore into deep water and explore for oil offshore. Jim Gilmore says yes to domestic production offshore. Mark Warner says no. This came to his desk, he vetoed it. Now, there are many, many more distinctions that we can make here. Many, many more. But let me just say one or two things, Mr. Chairman, then I'll get off the stage and let's get back to what you need to be doing. Folks, remember this. When Mark Warner ran for governor of Virginia, he said that he was going to do something about taxes in this state. Now, let me remind you of something about taxation in this state. We put in federal tax cuts in 2001 and 2003. Tax cuts that are meaningful not just to rich people, but to all people. And if they go back in, those taxes go back in, it will mean an increase in the death penalty, the death tax. It will mean an increase in the estate tax. It will mean an increase in the marriage penalty. It will mean an increase in brackets across the board. It will mean an increase in dividend payments. It will mean an increase in capital gains taxes for small businesses. And I say that those tax cuts stay. And that's what I'll do in the United States Senate. Mark Warren says that they should go. Now, one more point. How many people here are intimately and very deeply concerned about the pro-life issue? Raise your hand if you are. Very concerned about this pro-life issue. I want you to know something. I am pro-life. I was the most pro-life governor in the history of Virginia. We all agree on the theology, and we all agree on the science. We may disagree, but when a law should apply to all women everywhere in the United States of America, whether they agree with us or not. But I want you to know this. As governor of Virginia, during my period of time as governor, we passed a 24-hour waiting period. We passed informed consent. I signed the bill to eliminate partial birth abortions. I was the author of the anti-cloning bill. I was the author of all of the abstinence programs in this state which have been defunded by the Democrats. I was a person who stood up on these issues and made sure that people had a good playing field to address these issues in a sincere way. You may remember the Terry Schiavo case. Well, we had a case, the youth in case in Virginia, and I stood up for that too. Now, these are real issues here. Now look, I know that we get into fights over these things. I know that. But we're all going to be together on this. I'm reminded of the story of the teacher who stood up in front of the classroom and said to her students, how many of you all want to go to heaven? And they all raised their hands, except one little boy in the back named Charlie. And the teacher said, well, Charlie, why didn't you raise your hand? Don't you want to go to heaven too? And he said, yeah, but not with this bunch. Republicans. But we're going to come together. Mark Warner's strategy is to splinter this party, and we're not going to let him do it. No. Now, when Mark Warner ran for governor, he said that he was going to finish out the car tax, and he broke his word. When Mark Warner ran for governor, he said that he was going to eliminate the death tax, and when it came to his desk, he vetoed it. When Mark Warner ran for governor, he stood in front of Mark Earley and said, I will not raise your taxes, not raise your taxes, not raise your taxes, and then he proceeded to do that. He lied. Now look, when he ran for governor and said he wasn't going to raise our taxes, I guess we actually probably didn't believe that. But I'm going to say this to you. When you consider his position on these federal tax increases, when he runs for the United States Senate and says he's going to raise your taxes, you better believe him, because it's true. Finally, there are things I need you to do. You're not spectators here. You are the leaders. I'm asking for you to go to Richmond, if you're elected as a delegate, and support me for this nomination. I'm asking for it. I'm asking you to go in your communities and speak out on behalf of our candidates. I'm asking you to speak out on behalf of the McCain-Gilmore ticket, which will be the Obama, Clinton, Mark Warner ticket. I'm asking you to put on a bumper sticker. We got them out here. I'm asking you to do it. People in Virginia Beach need to see this. It'll drive the Democrats crazy. And don't worry about gumming up your bumper. When it's all over, I'll come take it off for you. Okay? All right, and finally, we need you to go on the webpage, JimGilmoreForSenate.com, and make a contribution. The day is new. We can no longer ask our rank and file people to not contribute. They must give something to the candidates and be financially invested. I don't think it matters how, well, more is better than less. But we need you to do this. And if you will do it, if you will do these things, I tell you now, McCain will carry Virginia. We will win the Senate race. Delma will be